Okay, guys, welcome back to the series of the subject Basics of Design and Graphics. In the earlier videos, we've talked about what is design, what is graphic, what is elements of design, what are principles of design, and in continuation to my last video of principles of design, I'm going to talk about, first of all, I'm going to give you a small recap, which is we've talked about balance, we've talked about rhythm. We have talked about lot other principles like unity. We did talk about proportion, and now we're going to talk about proximity. That's another principle. Proximity is basically called as nearness. Looking at the picture, you can just read it out easily. That the principle of proximity or continuity states that things which are closer together will be seen as belonging together. In a design, proximity or closeness creates a bond between the elements on a page. For an example, you know that there is a headline and beneath that there is the whole story. So how do you get to relate that the story is actually the complete detail of the headline just mentioned above? Because of the proximity that you find between that headline and the text written. How close together or far apart are the elements are placed suggests a relationship between otherwise disparate paths. Okay, looking at the picture to the right, since the horizontal rows of circles are closer together than the vertical columns, we perceive two vertical lines. Since the first two columns and the last two columns have less space between them, then the center two columns we perceive as two group of two columns. I hope I'm very clear with the concept of proximity. I'm showing you other examples as well in terms of layout. Look at this. Proximity and of course unity when it comes to use of font style, size. Moving on to the next principle, that is your contrast. I guess we used it all the time in our daily life, and we, try to decorate our own house or our own room, and we just try to pick up clothes for ourselves. We always keep in mind this principle of contrast. For an example, a darker background or a lighter color font, or a lighter color background, darker color font. So contrast is juxtaposition of opposing elements. Example, opposite color on the color wheel, which are mentioned: red, green, blue, orange, etc. Contrast is tone or value in terms of lightness and darkness. Contrast is interaction in terms of horizontal and vertical. Here are a few examples that you can see in terms of contrast. I hope the images or the examples that I'm showing it to you seems quite clear to give you a complete understanding of what exactly we are learning under the subject of basics and designs and basics of design and graphics. Yeah, this is very important. This is your white space. Remember space we talked about in the elements part. The placement of the elements and giving enough room to each element is your giving white space. Design that try to cram too much text and graphic onto a page are uncomfortable and maybe impossible to read. White space gives your design a breathing room. It is essential for providing spatial relationships between visual items and actually guides the reader's eye from one point to the another. See, can you see the example? Can you see the difference between the two? The use of space, the use of white space, that we are mentioning it as one of the mandatory principle under the elements and principles of design. Alignment. There are 5 types of alignment out here. That includes your left, right, center, justified, and force justified. See the similarity. The principle of similarity states that the things which we share visual characteristics such as shape, size, color, texture, value, or orientation will be seen as belonging together. In the example to the right, the two fill lines gives our eyes the impression of two horizontal lines, even though the circles are equidistant from each other. We are not assuming it as vertical line. What we are assuming it as horizontal line because of the similarity of the shape as well as the visual weight. See, And last but not the least that we're going to talk about is continuity. The principle of continuity predicts the preference for continuous figures. We perceive the figure are two cross lines instead of four lines meeting at the center. So they are not the separate objects or the elements that we are talking about. We're talking about something that we perceived as one. These two cross line is not basically the four lines that we have joined at the center. They're basically two cross line. That is the example of continuity. And with this, I'll in a position to say that we have covered all the principles and elements of design. Please take this as a small task. Pick up any kind of an advertisement, mark different kind of elements, and see and try to understand what kind of a principles which are being used, so that you will have better understanding of whatever you have heard in this video. You'll be able to apply that practically as well. So don't forget to do that task so that you have better understanding. After this video, I'll be picking up topic from the layouting part. So up till now, we've covered basics of design and graphics. We covered elements and principle. And in the coming videos, we'll be talking about layouting in detail, about book designing, about magazine and newspaper designing. All right. Till then, please do the revision and don't forget to do the task.